Welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. Today is day 3 of Food Allergy Awareness Week over here in the United States. And I say that because my guest is from the UK. And I could not be more excited about this conversation. She has been living with severe anaphylactic food allergies for over 30 years. She is the founder of Behind the Allergy, which is a platform and podcast dedicated to the honest, full picture reality of living with food allergies. Not just what's on the menu, but the anxiety, the identity, the relationships, and the everyday resilience that it takes to participate in a world that avoids food allergies or doesn't pay attention to food allergies very well. And she's here today to help us understand what guests with food allergies are actually experiencing when they sit down at our event tables and what we can do to make sure they feel seen and safe and well fed at the same time. So welcome to the show, Lindiwe Lewis. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. And everybody, we were delayed with some technical issues that we both figured out just before we got online. So we're good. I'm so excited, again, like I said, to be talking to you because, you know, I'm actually managing food allergies right now. I'm actually ordering menus for events of 800 people, and I have a wide variety of people with food allergies. Nobody has a list of 30. So let's start off with that. What is your list of 30 or your list that you've been managing for over 30? There we go. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is over 30.
Is
I
it
actually
really?
yeah, I think if I actually did like every single nut and every single legume, it would probably be a list of 30.
Right.
But yeah, it's been complicated. Like, I guess living with food allergies over 30 years, I've seen a lot of transition. I've seen a lot of things coming and going. I've seen a lot of progress, which is incredible. But I've also been at not the beginning, but I've been at the time in which allergies are on the rise. So I kind of saw a lot of the transition between really being afraid of living with food allergies and people not really understanding it and not a lot of awareness and people not embracing it to now people are sharing it and expecting education, expecting awareness, expecting that the world will be accommodating for us. And I think that for me personally was a very hard spin mentally because I was very closed off for a long time, and now I'm able to be a lot more open, but I still have those, I guess, coping mechanisms for living with food allergies in a world that doesn't embrace me. So yeah, I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of different terminology, a lot of different understanding, and for me personally it's for the better, but I also understand that we still have so much more to go. So I love these conversations because I think that now, because it's very widespread and there's way more people having allergies than I did. So like back when I was younger. So I think that it's the term safety and inclusion is very different now than it was back then. And I think it's really important to have those conversations so that we can do better for the next generation.
No, I love that. And I've been eating gluten-free with an allergy to yeasts for 23 years. So I see the change and I've been advocating for it, but there's still, like you said, a lot of work to do. And you being in the UK, your laws around allergies have been there a lot longer than ours have here in the US. Like, we just got our first one in California. It becomes effective July 1st. So it's just the start. So and that anxiety of how you've lived that so long with not knowing that nobody's going to accommodate you or make you feel seen there to now, that's got to be something hard to release.
Yeah, and I don't think that you ever really do release it. I think that there's an element at which I still have protective mechanisms. I truly don't believe that anybody is there to cater for me. I don't ever assume that I will always be able to eat out. I don't assume I always assume the worst when it comes to my allergies. I always assume that I will not be accommodated for. And I think that is because I have been in those situations where I was dismissed and excluded for so long that I will never assume that people will cater for me.
Right.
But that being said, I think that actually plays a really big part into why I'm so vocal about eating out and going on planes and, basically advocating for the community, because I don't expect it, but I really embrace it when it does happen. And I'm very vocal when it does happen. I really like to highlight restaurants, caterers, people that are very supportive and inclusive, because that is not still the norm. And so I like to really promote that instead of highlighting places that don't, because I think there's way too many people that don't, and now we need to highlight the people who are actually going above and beyond like the normal like hospitality situations, and going above and beyond and making it like a normalcy in their restaurants. And like, why don't we promote them so that they can show
Get more
other
business.
restaurants,
Yeah.
yeah, and show other people what's actually possible,
Right.
and I think that that's a really big thing. I think that a lot of restaurants don't even know how to deal with cross contact. They don't know how to manage the psychological interactions of somebody with food allergies and the kitchen staff. Like, they don't know how to deal with it. But if a restaurant does do it well, we need to learn from them instead of I don't know, villainizing them.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I
Right.
will, like, because I do a lot more events than I do restaurants, right? I look at what they're doing, but when I see like labeling wrong on a buffet, right, I will take that hotel's logo off of it, right, and say, look at how this food was labeled. What would you do differently, right? But if it's done really, really well, I'm gonna say, hey, look at what such and such hotel did, right? And because I want that company to potentially be my client. Like, hey, let me help you do this, right? And so we have to have those conversations behind the scenes to say, hey, can we talk about this, right? But yesterday I was chatting with executive chef Jay Varga, and he is an executive chef at a catering company. And I actually shared one of the things he said yesterday on the show with somebody today, that thinking through even past hors d'oeuvres at an event, right? He goes, if we have somebody that has a contact allergy, I make sure only one server on my team is responsible for that dish that has the allergen. And only one person in the back of the house is responsible for that one dish, because we're not having to worry about changing gloves. We're not, who's touching it? Like, you and I might touch it and then we're going to go shake hands. He's like, nope, that's the cut and dry. And I'm like, that's amazing, right? Because it's putting the onus, but all the responsibility, and those people know what to do at that point. Yeah. And sharing
and
that.
I think, and it's really important as well that we are, like, for me, the biggest thing, not just in the allergy life, but I think I learned it because of my allergies, but it's transparency. It's the biggest thing for me. I'm very supportive when restaurants and caterers say, I actually can't do this. Like, I don't think I can serve you. I have a lot of allergies, and I get that not every restaurant is going to be able to accommodate me. And so you telling me that we actually can't do that, I'd rather this have a conversation and we say, okay, this is the situation, then you say, oh, I think it should be fine. Right. And then it's not fine. Like, I'd rather not risk my life. I'd rather go somewhere else. And not everyone, I think there's an element in, especially for me in the UK, there's an element in which people do believe that every restaurant should accommodate every allergen. And I just don't think that that's possible, because I think that not every household can accommodate every allergen. So I don't assume that every restaurant should be. If I'm going to a restaurant that is fully stocked of their menu is fully nuts, I don't assume that they're going to be able to accommodate my allergens, because that would feel unsafe for me. Right. So for me, it's like, I usually go to restaurants where I know that like the cuisine or the dishes are safe for me. Now, if there is a restaurant that would accommodate a nut allergy, a celiac or something like that, I think that's great, and we need to highlight those people who are doing that work. And then if they are not able to accommodate, then that's something that we need to discuss.
Right.
But overall, I think that not every restaurant should be always accommodating every allergen, but we should have transparency and that conversation be normalized.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, you're not going to go into a restaurant that's making fresh pizza and expect gluten free, right? They're making their fresh dough and expect that to happen. And one woman, actually, a photographer I met years ago, said he went to go meet a bride, and she's like, I can't meet you at that place because they make fresh stuff and it's in the air too much. And that was an eye-opening thing for him to do. So it's thinking through it in a variety of different ways. So and I was watching some videos of you the other day, and it's you and a bunch Mia, I love how you put the phone down and it's like looking at you and you're asking the questions of and saying, hey, I want to order this steak, but I need nothing on it. And I need the potato to have nothing on it, right? And you're like, nothing, literally nothing. But that server at least seemed very open to it and understood why you were asking, right? But so when you're talking to that server, what words or terminology or what did they think things that they might say or not say that would make you feel safe or unsafe?
Right. So like for most, the reason why I say it has to be nothing on it, has to be plain, has to be plain, has to be plain, is because the amount of times I've said it needs to be plain and I've come back with something on it.
Right.
And I have to make sure that person really understands that I don't care whether it's fancy or flavorful. Like the restaurant will be flavorful anyway. Like it's going to be chefed cooked food. It's better than my home. So I know that it's going to be fine anyway. And I'm quite a plain eater anyway. Like I'm very happy with I'm South African and Irish. I want meat and potatoes. That's all I want. Like that's basically my goal, my aim. I love that. Steak, potatoes, I'm happy. So for me, I think I'm quite an easy person to cook for because I don't really expect much. But how many times people have come back and go, oh, the chef feels so bad for you, so they did this special for you. And I'm like, the amount of fear that comes over when I haven't been told that, like I bringing back to transparency. You need to be transparent. I have expressed to you, this is what I want. And now you're giving me something the opposite of what I want. And I feel like that is like, one, I think that's unsafe, but two, like that's not very good at like customer service. Like you should be giving the customer what they wanted. And I very plainly told you I wanted plain food. So for me, that's something where if they do it, then the minute I just start to panic. So I think the biggest thing for me is always the server, whoever's talking to the person with allergies or the parent of the person with allergies, there needs to be transparency and say, what is it that you want? And then I always say, like, look, if a chef thinks I can have this and they can make it safely for me, I'm happy. But if they can't, I would like to know. And I think that that's something where I've learned over time that the more you proactively tell somebody something, it makes it a little easier. And I've also been the manager and the server. So I also know what questions I would ask back. So I like to proactively tell them before you ask me those questions back, this is what I want from you.
Right. Yep.
Like I say, when I have my allergy card, I'll say, please give it to the chef till the end of the meal. I don't want it back, because they will always give it back to me. And I'm like, I don't want it back. So, yeah. So like those things, like I'm very big on transparency and just being proactive. I think for the servers, the biggest thing for me is that I want them to proactively tell me what it is they're going to do that will make it safe for me. So like they say, okay, but just so you know, so I've had really great times, like we might talk about this in next, but Hawksmoor, they're very proactive in saying, okay, we usually have a separate section for people with allergies. The chef usually like cleans everything down, washes their hands. We like basically time off the like, I guess the orders and things like
Mm-hmm.
that in order for my order to be processed safely. So it's like when they say that to me straight away, I know that they already know
Right.
how they
Mm-hmm.
can make it safely.
Right.
When they don't, and I have to ask them question after question after question, that's where I'm a bit cautious. So, yeah, so those things like you already know how you make things safely,
Mm-hmm.
and then tell me that straight away,
Right.
then that set it's more of ease. So like again, just the more transparency you can give me, the better my experience will be.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there's a restaurant in Asheville, North Carolina, that my friend Peter runs, and it's completely gluten free because his wife is celiac, and a majority of those, but they don't advertise that right on their menus or things like that. The server tells you when they sit down, just to let you know that our restaurant is completely gluten free. So feel free, to eat whatever you like if you're, gluten free, or when you're asking those questions. And I love that, and
Yeah.
because it puts you at ease immediately, right? And then the servers actually, and I actually asked one of them in the back of the house because I think majority of the stuff is also dairy free as well. And I said, "How does that make your job?" Right? And they're like, "It makes our job so much easier because we're not having to remember, we're not having to go back and ask the chefs questions and whatever." But even the same thing with the restaurant in London that oh my gosh, now I'm going to forget the chef's name, but he was attached to a hotel, and one night he
Oh,
said,
yes.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and he went
Is it the one Aldrich?
yes, yes,
That
yep,
one? Yeah.
yep, and went completely gluten free and dairy free, and it
Yeah.
eased the stress of the servers in
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, so um, okay, so like some of the things that you said too in what you just explained in watching servers and how they ask, but you also have I've read and listened, and you like when I spot something like a hygiene protocol that's not being
Oh, yeah.
followed. So talk about hygiene protocol that you're seeing. It's not just hearing, but you're seeing things that are happening around you in the cleanliness of a restaurant or things like that.
Yeah, that experience happened to me in South Africa in Cape Town. And it was one of those open plan restaurants, like the
Mhm.
kitchens.
Mhm.
And I was literally sitting in front of the kitchen. I was sitting in front of the chef, and basically he kept using the same towel to clean every single thing
Mhm.
and to clean the counters, to clean the pots, and I was just like panic. I was already like nervous going out, and I already didn't like the restaurant going into it. And then when I saw that, it just set like alarm bells. And for me personally, I haven't actually properly talked about the situation. I did a video where I was in the toilet after that happened and telling like I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I was like follow for part two, and then I never could like bring myself to do part two because
Uh-huh.
I really was maybe yeah, I don't know. I was very embarrassed by how I behaved. And I think that that's something where sometimes when you're so put off or shocked by an
Mhm.
experience, you don't always follow the protocols that you would have followed if
Right.
if like you were
Mhm.
thinking about it. And usually I know like okay, I always tell people if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it, you can walk away. And I knew that because I was traveling, I didn't have a plan for what else I would eat for dinner. There was no rush, there was no like supermarkets around, like the kitchen. Like I just didn't. I just felt like super uncomfortable. So my mom basically, I like started crying and I went to the bathroom because I just like didn't want to do it and I had so much anxiety. And my mom actually talked to the restaurant and she said, we're gonna go, we're gonna go, we're gonna go. And then the restaurant was like, oh my God, no, 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 it's all fine. We'll clean everything. Like, basically trying to make up for the hygiene situation. And she was like, no, 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 you've literally used the same cloth, the same thing. It's obviously disgusting. And we don't want to eat here because my daughter is scared that you're doing that for other things. And that's not safe for her. And so I came out of the bathroom and my mom basically was like, they've literally said it's all fine, but you get to decide what to do. And I had this moment of, I have to protect the restaurant. Like I have to like make them feel better about the situation rather than protect me. And the other person I was with was basically like, "Oh, it's fine. They're fine. They're doing it. It's easy." And I was just like feeling very stressed, but also I don't I just wanted to not make a fuss. And it's
Right.
like, for me, when I say that, I hate it because I always tell people, do make a fuss, it's your health.
Right.
And I didn't want to make a fuss that time. And I never do that anymore. But it kind of reverted me back to like being a 16-year-old. And I think the biggest thing as well, like for something situation like that is I don't know. I don't know how the staff could have made it better, but I do think that if you make a mistake, I don't think we should be saying, "Okay, we can fix it. We can fix it. You should eat here. It'll be fine." Like I think that I was crying and I think that there was an element at which they should have said, "No problem. If you don't want to eat here, no problem."
Right. Yeah.
And I just felt very like they were just, it felt in that moment that I was being forced to eat. I was being, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to make a fuss. And I think that that puts so much pressure on the person with allergies to make sure that everyone's safe. And I think that that happens a lot in like birthday parties or professional events or anything like that, that we don't want to make a fuss when something goes wrong. So we kind of like make do, and we kind of like try to figure it out. And like the chef came out and he basically was like, "Oh no, it's fine, I'll change my cloth." And I'm like, but that's not the point. Like what else did you do?
Clearly that's how you normally work. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I felt very uncomfortable. And yeah, I did eat. I was safe. It was all fine. But I had a pit in my stomach every single second. I was constantly checking whether I was having an allergic reaction, and I just wanted to get out of there. Like nothing felt safe to me from that moment.
Yeah.
And I hated that I did that, but also that it really puts a point to people, like no matter how much experience you have in this, it shouldn't be on the person with allergies to be telling you how to do your job, like how to avoid cross-contamination, how to make sure that like the food is safe. Like that should be a policy that is already set from the precedent. It should not be because we're telling you, "Hey, this is disgusting. Hey, this is," especially, you know, in catering. Like I've had another example where I've had a catering, they said no nuts, no nuts. We said 3 months in advance, no nuts, no nuts. And then the first dish they brought out to me was sprinkled with peanuts. Like, why? How is that possible?
Right.
Like, how
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
that possible? You know, so it's more like, I shouldn't be the one to constantly be telling you how to do your job. This is a part of your job. Allergy policies, allergy awareness, allergy education is a part of your job. And it's baffling to me. And I've been in the service industry. I'm not somebody that like doesn't know what it is. It's not enough. What we tell people who are handling our food is not enough to keep people safe. And people just don't know. They really don't know. They don't understand it. And like I have a lot of, I don't know, solutions of what I would say of like how to do better. But I think that we need to stop putting the onus on the person with allergies. We need to make sure that their training is better. They know what to do before we even get in that room.
Exactly. Because I mean, we all can't stay at home, right? We're not going to live in a bubble and
They want us to.
They do want us. They do want a lot of people do want us to stay at home, but it's not a reality. We have to go out. We have to go to work. We eat out with colleagues. We go to events to build our business, etc. Right? And food is a right, and it does come down to the training. And like Leanne Mandelbaum, you know, posted that story about that cashew allergy reaction from hummus on an airplane. I'm like, who puts cashews in hummus, right? But where is the from the person who placed the order all the way to the flight attendant giving that information, where's that lack of communication? Where's that SOP in the middle to ensure what that information is, right? And yes, it is our decision, and it is your decision to make it say, hey, okay, I will eat here. I'm going to be really stressed out about it. But in the end, it's not just my responsibility or your responsibility. It is the person who's providing food. You chose to come into the food business. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that when you I think I hope that shocked them to
Right.
to like, I was fully like like in the restaurant and like, a 30-year-old woman like hyperventilating in a restaurant is not like something you forget, hopefully. But I think the element is like, a lot of smaller places and a lot of places that don't deal with allergies often just don't make a decision to put that as I don't know, like
Priority.
prominent. They're not putting it as a priority. Exactly. And I think that is one, a mistake, obviously, but also it doesn't matter whether you have it lots of times. One time can change your whole restaurant's life. And so I feel like no matter what restaurants, big or small, it should be a priority, because one off moment, one off chance could change. If I didn't see that and then I did have cross-contamination, I did eat that and I did have a reaction, like that would have changed my life, but also the restaurant's life. So I think like it's not worth not putting the time and energy into doing that.
Right. Yeah. But going back to even the, when you said you don't expect every single restaurant to accommodate every single allergen, but you still have the duty of care to have safety practices in place to understand that and what you're doing and what you're serving. And here in the US, I mean, the Serve Safe, the food allergies is only 4 pages long, the conversation about food allergies. So it's not like we're worried about. And even one food safety person said to me in a state here is like, we're worried about salmonella and E. coli and all of that things, because that might kill a larger, that might impact a larger group of people. But at the same time, you dying in a restaurant is going to make national, it's going to make news. Right. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think like, one, that's disgusting whether I have allergies or not,
Right.
what experience. But also like for me, I think like just you explaining that, like having allergens in your food is a health and safety issue without it even being somebody who has allergies. Like, if you're using the same cloth or you're sprinkling things that you tell someone isn't in it, like that's a health and safety issue no matter what. Like that shouldn't happen. If
Right.
you're saying a food is not in that dish and then it obviously is, why do you not know what's in that food when you're making it?
Right. Yep.
It's kind of like, how do you not know? It's like, when we go to like the airport and they say, did you pack that bag? What's in that bag? If I don't know what's in it, I get in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
So if you don't know what's in it, if you don't know what's in the food that you're serving me, you should get in trouble. Like, as in you shouldn't have that job if you don't even know what you're cooking or you don't even know who it's going out to. Like, I just think it's just baffling to me that we just let people let it slide all the time just because I didn't have a reaction. Like, that shouldn't happen.
Right. Yeah. That reminds me of a pudding or souffle that I ordered, or that was ordered for an event, and it said it contained gluten. And I'm like, what in the dish contains gluten? And what it was is it was a bag of pre-made pudding that they just added water to or something. And so it actually had 5 top allergens in it. And they had only labeled one. And I'm like, it goes like, why do you not know that? I'm like, we're talking about allergens here, and we have somebody with a severe wheat allergy. Why would you put that out? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it comes back to transparency. Like, there's just too many places that cater for you that pretend there's something then they're not. And then that means that there's no transparency when it comes to it. I have so many times that I've worked in restaurants and they're just like, well, we can't guarantee because we don't actually know where it's being made, because they
Right.
say it's fresh and homemade, but it's fresh and homemade in a factory. Like, it's not like it's made in the actual
Right.
restaurant. And I think that's where it's baffling, because there's no transparency, because they didn't actually make it in the actual
Right. Yep.
restaurant. So they can't even tell you what's in it, because they have to find a book instead of talking to a chef, hey, what's in this that you made today? Because they didn't make it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I've had multiple, like one hotel told me, oh, well, all my appetizers I get from an outside catering company. So I really don't know. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it is, you need to keep track of all of that, no matter where it is, and keep the box, right? So that you
Yeah.
know if the box, when you take it out of the box and there's no information about that food on that bag that you just pulled out, you need to make sure that you're looking at that box and keeping that information with the bag wherever you put it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for meeting and event professionals who catering and restaurant size who think food allergies are simply a food and beverage logistics issue and or even not, like, hey, the problem is actually, let's reframe it this way. Somebody said to me, a technology company, the problem is not the allergy, the problem is your logistics and your SOPs. Like,
Right.
how do you, when I'm emailing event attendees right now, like, is your allergy consumption? Is it touch? Is it inhalation? What other things do you want meeting planners to potentially ask you to understand your allergens, and help them reframe how they address it when they're talking to their attendees? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing is to, like, I guess it always for me starts at the top. So it starts at like where, like, everything always like trickles down. So like,
Mhm.
if the company or the, I don't know, if the company or the person that's running the company isn't allergy aware, your staff isn't going to be allergy aware. Like, the people around you, they're not going to care. If they care, the staff is going to care.
Right.
So I think, like, the issue is that no one really understands the importance of, like, allergy training or allergy education. So you don't have people, like, I always think, like, no one that teaches allergy education has any idea about, well, in my experience, has any idea about living with food allergies, or living, like, coming to an event with food allergies. So they don't actually know what the actual effect, or like how it actually feels to come to an event that was surrounded by food, at like with food allergies. So I think the biggest thing is to understand, like, different scenarios, and having different people who are more, you don't have to have every single staff member understand all allergies,
Mhm.
but at least you have to have one or two that really get it, so that they can be, I don't want to say champion, but a little bit of a champion of how to manage them. So when you do have food allergies, those people are there
Right.
to help manage it, right?
Right.
So we need to have people who know as much as possible about the food that's coming out, about the person who has the restriction, about, like, all of that. And there needs to be certain situations, certain scenarios. And I think it's because then if it starts at the top and you say, okay, we're going to get somebody in for the managers who understands this and understands allergens and understands, like, the lived experience, and talk to the managers. The
Mhm.
managers can then talk to the staff, and the
Right.
staff can then understand that situation. And I think it just trickles down. But
Mhm.
if you only have one person and then that person leaves, what do you do then?
Right. Or is
Or
sick,
that
or
person,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. If it's, so it really needs to be a whole company policy about how do we make these events safe and inclusive. And the thing is, I think that so many people forget that inclusion is the same for people with allergies. Like, if you're, trying to find a way to get somebody in a wheelchair up to your event, you also need to make sure that somebody with allergies is included in that event.
Yep.
So even if it's not, there's so many different things. Like, I've gone to an event where they've asked me what snacks I like, and then put those snacks out on the table. Like, it's not the act of like, you have to make new food for me. But if they're ordering snacks anyway, they can just ask the person who has allergies, what brands of snacks can you eat? And then buy those snacks when they're making those snacks, instead of just buying just random snacks that you think people would like.
Right.
You know, and I think that those are the kinds of things that's really important. Like you need to establish again, transparency. You need to establish a communication between, but how do you know how to do that if you don't have people that know how to do that? Like, then it needs to start from the top, and it also needs to be a policy. So whenever managers leave, whenever staff leaves, the minute that you hire someone, they go into a funnel of what that looks like, because you do that for anything, any part of your business. This needs to be a priority, just like, you know, an accessibility issue,
right?
Like it needs to be a part of the policy and the priority of the staff. Does that answer your question?
It totally does. Yeah. And because it really, it does need to be part of your SOPs, right? And even I was talking to somebody the other day, I guess it was on Monday, and I was talking to Anita and Matt and Sammy about the new, I'm going to say this right, British Professional Conference Organizers Association. You know, they're putting together some standards of how the whole industry should be managing these, right? And it goes all the way to registration and how you manage it, and it's everybody's responsibility in that whole, I call it the food chain, right? Of who's touching the food, who's ordering the food, because I'm ordering the food for you. I don't necessarily know, but like I'm working an event right now, and I'm like, can you just please order cookies from this company? Right? Because they're free of the top 14 allergens, they're non-vegan, or they're vegan. And then I'm also like, and here's the Cisco codes for you to order them, so you can get them directly from your supplier right there in Boston, right? I mean, so let me introduce you to the products that can, and then make sure that you're serving them in that prepackaged container to this person, because then they know that it's not contaminate cross contact. Yeah.
And that's something that, how do you know unless you know, right? Like those little intricacies, like making sure that like they're not touching other things.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's something that's, you know, even when I go to like food allergy events, that's not something that is like a thing still, you know? So I'm like, people offer me food and I'm like, you know, we're at a food allergy event, right? And you're letting me put my hand in a tub, like, no. Like there needs to be a safer way that you're letting me test the food. Give me the ingredients. They say allergens, ask something, but just give me the ingredients straight away. Like let me see them first. Like, you know, all of these things that I guess we still have to work on, right? You know, but it's, for me, it's really important, I think. And so the restaurant that I was talking about before, called Hawksmoor, in the past, I know that they have had somebody with food allergies come and talk to their heads and discuss what it's like with food allergies coming to a restaurant.
That's awesome.
What the process of our brain thinks, how we manage our allergies, what we actually want to know. And the thing, like, that's what happens every single restaurant, because there's many in London, many in the UK, and many in Ireland. And I go there, I've been to a lot. It's consistency.
Nice.
They're always consistent. They always tell me before I have to ask. They always know exactly what to do. They always check before anything, before they make a judgment call. You know, they always check with me. And that's something that I know they must get from the top, because if it's everywhere and it's across the board, they have to check.
Right.
You know, they have to make sure that, like, it just trickles down. And I think that that's something that people, they don't really understand. And like, you can tell that it's not a priority in the staff if it's not a priority in their managers. And if it's not in their managers, it's not going to be in the HQ, you know?
Right. Exactly. And the fact that you can tell that, and it's not just one venue, right? And one of the things that I mentioned years ago to somebody is that just because a hotel name is the same, you know, let's just call it XYZ Hotel, right? And it's global, but that hotel could be owned by me, and it could be
Yeah.
managed by you, and which is the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing. But with the restaurant you there, Hawksmoor, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a much more controlled thing. They know what they're doing that. But I would really love if the hotels and the convention center said, this is our standard practice no matter where you go in the world, and
Yeah.
put it on those franchise owners. Put it, so that that consistency is there. But that's hard to come by. Yeah.
It is, but I think that the more that you like people have these
Mhm.
conversations and like it's the more it's expected and the
Right.
more that people speak out, I think it would be normalized.
Right.
But because we don't and we just assume, like I do, that people won't cater for me, we just don't talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
Like I didn't talk about the catering issue that I had, but because like I think also that's the other thing I was saying about putting the onus on the person with allergies. That was quite a traumatic experience for me, and I don't really want to deal with it.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to have to deal with it again. So I'm kind of like I let it go, and I'm just not going to eat in that. And I don't think that's fair because I think that everyone that they should get, and we did try and get them to apologize, and they did apologize and things like that. And what are you going to do after? But then over time, it just trickles down and
Mhm. Yeah.
they just forget.
That
So,
person leaves
yeah, I
and
think
yeah. Mhm.
exactly. So we just need to constantly be talking about these conversations and,
Mhm.
trying to get to do better. But I mean, look, I know it's better than it ever was before, but it's just not enough.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so how um so everybody, you have a long list of allergens. So let's talk about that too. So there's people that may be only allergic to one thing, right? And then there's people that are allergic to multiple things. And I know that I've seen, people like send a list and people make fun of that list. Like, how do they eat? And I mean, and actually one of my really good experiences was in Atlanta going to an author dinner. And it was like a 7-course meal. And it was $100. And I'm like, I really want to come to this because I really want to see Kim Severson. It was her book and Spoon-Fed. And I sent my allergies to the chef in advance. And he made me the 8 different courses so I could participate, and
Oh
he's
my
like, no,
gosh,
no. I
that's
mean, it
amazing.
was I'm like, I will rave about going to that author dinner, etc. Because of that. But he made my experience worth it and saying, hey, I'm paying $100 and doing this. So it's, but you have to find that right guy or not the right guy, that right person who's willing to take that step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because I have lots of allergies and um in the past when I would tell people like by number 4 the eyes glaze over and you're like, "What? How do you do this? How
Right.
how do you have so many allergies?" And you're just like, "Yeah, it's fine." And like, "How do you eat out?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I eat out. Obviously, I'm here." But I think that it becomes almost like that's not possible.
Right.
Like you can't have that many allergies. So having my card really helps. I have an
Mhm.
Equal Eats card, which is it just tells everyone, like it goes from me to the chef and it tells them my allergens. It asks them to wash their utensils, like all of that stuff that I end up not needing to do all that heavy lifting
Mhm.
because the card does it. And it's also got like different translations on the back depending on
Mhm.
what country I'm going to. But I think the biggest thing is like it shouldn't really take just one person. I think that should be like an inevitable situation. You're paying this money, you should be able to get this food,
Right.
right? Like a chef should be able to adjust and change based on a food restriction,
Right. Mhm.
but yeah, with so many different I guess like allergen friendly meals and allergen friendly this is not really real because we all have different allergens and like a lot of mine are not on the top
Right.
allergens, so it doesn't really like you could I have like there's this donut place and they're saying like allergen friendly, it has chickpea in it. It's not allergen friendly to me,
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's all great and like the whole allergy world loves it, but like I can never eat it.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think like it's it's not about allergy friendly or like nut free schools. Is what about the dairy allergy? What about the wheat allergy? Like
Mhm.
we have to have allergen policies and understand allergens in general, because people, like, I've had people come into my restaurant that have a lemon allergy, or, you know, or they have a severe intolerance to pepper. Like, how do we manage those things
Right.
rather than the allergen, like
Right. Yeah.
what we
Yep.
assume allergens are, you know?
Right.
So I think that the biggest thing is, like, there's just no one size fits all. There's no
Right.
one guest experience. There's no one thing that manages it, encompasses it all. So we need to have people who are serving our food or waiting on us to understand that, like, when we say allergy, the question is, can you tell me more about that allergy?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is that severe? Is that anaphylactic? When I hear someone say, is it anaphylactic, or is it like an intolerance, or is it celiac, or is it gluten-free? Like, when I hear those things, I'm like, oh, they totally get it.
Right.
And like, I don't think that that means that we need to treat them any worse or better, but it's about understanding what is the actual protocol. And if we have lots of protocols based on the severity of, I think people would be more transparent about what they have, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I have a severe allergy. But the reason they say severe allergy when they don't is because people don't, like, people belittle it.
Right. Yeah. No.
If it's intolerance, they just believe, like, oh, I'll be fine. But like, stop saying it'll be fine. If there's someone's telling you they have something that they can't eat, like, act accordingly.
Right.
They can't eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So act accordingly.
Yeah.
They might not die, but act accordingly. It's, they don't want to be sitting on the toilet all night, or, you know, there's lots of different things. Like, there's lots of things overall, like celiac disease overall over time, it's really detrimental to their body.
Right.
Like, act accordingly. Even
Right.
if it's not celiac, act accordingly. People cannot handle gluten. Act accordingly.
Right. And it goes back to, it's not the ingredient, it's your processes. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's from the top. So you have to, it has to be a priority, just like how, I mean, the uproar, if, you know, there's an event and you're not allowed to bring the thing that makes you able to move around.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you, like, the uproar that would be, because that's not inclusive at all.
Right.
Right? Or if we wouldn't let somebody who has a different skin color into the event, like, the uproar that would be, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. Inclusion is not just one type of inclusion. Inclusion is everything. So if you are going to be including, and also when you're in the office, or if you've got a job or whatever, you can't just be like, oh, well, that person can't come to the office event because she has this, or they have this, or, you know, it's like, it has to be included because that's my job.
Right.
So you have to include me in that. Because so if you're going to make it about food and you're going to make it a sit down dinner, you need to include me in it.
Right.
I can't bring my sandwich. You know what I mean? So if you don't, I mean, and also I mean, look, this isn't I know that your podcast is about eating, but there's a lot of things that you can do to bring people from the office together that isn't including food.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, you know,
so like, if you're worried, do that.
Okay, I think,
and give people like a stipend. We can give people a stipend to spend money on their own food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring their own, if you need to travel with your food, here's, you know, $25 to cover your breaks or whatever you're doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We can do your lunches and your breakfast and stuff, but if for the afternoon breaks, we're going to give you this money to bring your own stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that that's completely fair. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there has to be that conversation around that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, I know I talk a lot.
Oh, no. You're good. You're good. Okay. So I have a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
All right. One thing you always do before eating at any event or restaurant for the first time.
Oh, talk to, like, the person who's going to handle my, like, queries, or like handle my, like, my, what do you call it? My order. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Talk to the person who's going to handle my order.
Okay. Awesome. All right. A destination on your travel bucket list that you're determined to make allergy safe and have a strategy for.
Japan. That's like, it's 2027. I'm going with two people who have food allergies as well. And I know that it's like high on people's like bucket list right now, but like, yeah, we've been planning this since last year. And so like that's a big one. Sorry.
Okay.
Fire crash.
Oh no, that's awesome. Okay, one hospitality industry phrase you wish would disappear forever.
Oh, it should be fine.
100%.
Like, it should be
Yes,
fine.
it should be fine. Yes,
I think it'll be
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, yeah. All right, two more. One piece
Yeah.
of advice you'd give your younger self the first time you walked into a room where food was being served compared to now.
I mean, I want to say it to myself again, but you don't have to eat that. Like, you don't have to eat it. Like, you can go in and you can ask the questions, but you don't have to eat the food if you don't want to. Like, you can make a fuss and you don't have to eat it. Yeah.
No.
I wish I had that. Yeah, I wish I had that when I was younger, especially because I would just feel like I had to eat something. Yeah.
You can walk away. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. You can walk away. Yeah.
All right. And the final question is, finish the sentence. Every meal should.
Ooh. Okay, bring it back. Every meal should be served with transparency.
Okay. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I love everything that you said. You brought some really good points to the conversation today. And I mean, it's just, we have to think through and understand the perspective of our guests and our attendees. And I think you did that so well. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I love what you're doing. So thank you so much for letting me come on.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, I need to come over to London and see you all. And I know you're in Ireland now. Is that right? Dublin?
Yeah. But I do come over, and we just had our allergen free from show the last weekend. So you should come over and do that. That would be amazing to meet the people.
I will do that for sure. Carolyn Benjamin and I have been talking about that forever, so I need to come do that.
She
yes.
came.
Oh, she did?
She came to the event. Yeah.
Okay.
So you should. You should come. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be great. And we did a podcast stage as well. So like, it would be amazing if you could come and maybe I could interview you.
Yeah. Let's do that. All right. Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Amazing.
All right. Well, Lindy, thank you. How does everybody get in touch with you?
So on Instagram and TikTok, I'm Behind the Allergy. On YouTube, Behind the Allergy. That's where you can see all of my podcasts. And then, basically that's where I'm at, is the social media. And I don't have a blog anymore, but I'm very big into posting content. So like, if you want to find me, always my DMs are open. That's how I built my following. It's how I built who I am today, is by talking to people in the DMs and creating relationships and connections. So I'm very happy always to talk to people who need help or who want to just chat.
Thank you. And that's actually how I got you. It was a DM on Instagram.
Exactly. And sorry, I'm like, literally, in Ireland, there's the grass is being cut constantly. So nose is just streaming. So sorry if people don't like people blowing noses.
That's okay. That it is allergy season. So, well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope people get a lot out of this conversation. I did too. So everybody, there's one more episode this week. It is tomorrow. And I'm talking to Chef Karen O'Connor from Canada. So we're getting a different perspective from another part of the world. So until then, stay safe and eat well, and have a good day.